Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second LinkedIn live event for 2025. Looking forward to today's topic. It's a great follow on from what we spoke about a fortnight ago in the 10 trends for 2025. And today we're looking at one of those trends, which was short form video. But we're not just looking at short form video, we're also looking at differences between short and long form content, understanding why they are what they are, the differences, the similarities, where they're best used within your own business, and then looking at how you can actually go about producing them for your business as well. So it's only a short session today, half an hour, and I'd love to leave some room for questions at the end as well. So let's just jump straight into it. So the key talking points for today, looking first and foremost at, as I said, the differences between short and long form content. And for me, there's also a third type of content, and we'll talk about that in just a moment as well. We'll then look at why your business needs both short and long form content in modern day video marketing. Why is it so important? Not just to have the one. Everyone seems to focus on the short form, and long form has kind of been pushed away a little bit. But why is it so important that your business should include both within your strategies? And then finally, we'll look at the best way that you can create both short and long form video content, what's going to be the most efficient way, what's going to be the most effective way, and most importantly, what's going to make sure that your marketing team don't get overwhelmed and don't burn out when creating video content. So that's the talking points for today. Let's kick it straight off. The differences between short and long form content. Now, if you go onto Google, if you go onto YouTube, you go to anywhere where people are talking about short and long form content, everyone's going to have their own slightly different definition of what short form and long form content is. So for the context of today's discussion and for the context of what I post on LinkedIn, both in the past and moving forward, let's have a look at the differences in the definitions that I have for both short and long form content. So my definition for short form content is it's going to be anything under 90 seconds in duration. It's typically going to be produced in a vertical format, although there are a number of brands challenging this direction, I suppose you can call it. Most notably, Apple have been doing some amazing things in the short form content realm, but in a horizontal format in recent times. And traditionally speaking, you're going to be seeing these across both Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn. We've also seen LinkedIn in the past months become a really, really powerful video machine with the introduction of their video algorithm. So you're going to see a lot of short form video on LinkedIn if you haven't already. And the other one that a lot of people are sleeping on, but it's one not to be sleeping on, Facebook Reels. This is a platform that a lot of people, especially in most B2C and definitely in B2B areas, have kind of pushed to one side, Facebook. But Facebook Reels are doing very, very well, and they're going under the radar. One of the clients that we work with, they've had exceptional results on Facebook Reels over the past 6 months or so. We've had 2 of their videos hit 1.7 and 1.8 million views respectively. So if you've got even a percentage of your market, a percentage of your audience on Facebook, then go after Facebook Reels, because there is a real advantage for posting Facebook Reels, as we've seen with one of our clients. So just to go over that definition again of short form content, it's anything under 90 seconds in duration, traditionally produced in a vertical format, and you're going to be seeing it across all of the major platforms within their video feeds, Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn, and as we touched on at the end there, Facebook Reels. So then let's look at long form content. How does this differ to short form? Obviously, the main difference is its duration. Typically speaking, long form video, as I define it, is anything longer than 90 seconds in duration. And this is going to be predominantly produced in a horizontal format. And you're going to see this on the likes of YouTube, LinkedIn, and you're going to post a lot of these videos on your website, either within pages or within blog posts. Now, what we've seen for many brands at the moment, and we'll continue to see it going forward, is that a lot of long form video is also being used as advertisements across meta platforms, across YouTube as pre-roll advertisements. And for those brands that have the bigger budgets to spend, streaming services, streaming platforms. A lot of longer form videos are being used as advertisements, 90 seconds, 2 minutes in duration. Brand story films, they're a great example of this, and we'll touch on brand story films a little bit later on. But these are great use cases for long form video. Now, that third piece of content type that I spoke about briefly at the start of the episode is ultra long form video. Now, this is one that, again, is kind of getting pushed away, but if you use it in the right context with the right audience, it can do some amazing things in relation to revenue growth, sales growth, and bringing customers closer to your brand. So ultra long video, where that differs to long form video, is that it's going to be anything over 10 minutes in duration. So it's really, really big in terms of its duration. Typically speaking, you're only going to see this on YouTube. And the reason for that is it's going to be around either educational type of content or entertainment type content. So if we look at the educational side of things, what an ultra long educational video could be a DIY demonstration, or it could be something like this, a webinar. It could be a podcast, ultra long pieces where you're providing a lot of value from an educational perspective to your listeners, to your audience, to your potential customers. From the entertainment side of things, we're seeing a lot of brands, especially those action-packed brands that have a lot of tourism aspect to it as well, bringing out short-form documentaries, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes, and posting these to YouTube. That's a great entertainment aspect. Not only is there to provide promotion for your brand, but it really goes in depth, tells a story, and can bring all the aspects of a great brand story film, bring it together for a short form documentary around a certain area of impact of your business. So that's the three types of content. We've got short form content, long form content, and then finally ultra long form content. And for me personally, I absolutely love long form and ultra long form content. You can bring so much more of a storytelling element into it as opposed to what you can do with the short form content. But as we're about to find out, all three of those types of content pieces are incredibly important and each hold their own part within your business's marketing activities. Now, the question then is, why does your business need both short, long, and of course, ultra long form content within your video marketing? Why is it required in modern day video marketing? And it goes back to the sales cycle, in my opinion. And this is a great analogy to make it easy to understand as well. If you think of a sales cycle, every sales cycle is made up of small touch points, minor touch points, and then you've also got the longer, or I should say the bigger touch points, those major touch points within the sales cycle. Now, keep in mind, this is both relevant for B2C as much as it is for B2B. So just keep that in mind as well. Where I see a link between a sales cycle and content is short form content is very similar to those small minor touch points within your sales cycle. So you think of a common sales cycle, those minor touch points could be from a B2B perspective, you could be commenting on your prospect's LinkedIn post as an example. From a B2C perspective, maybe you see a prospect walking down the street and you say hello to them. Maybe it's a friend purchases your brand's shoe and shows their friend. That's an option as well. Those are those minor touch points. So short form content is very similar to that. It's a little bit of your brand, a little bit pushed out that can be consumed by your potential customer, and it keeps you front of mind within their mind. Keeps things ticking over, keeps you in their mind all the time. It keeps things hot in the relationship, if you want to call it that as well. That's the idea behind short form content, is just to keep you ticking over, keep appearing in their feed on a daily basis, and keeping you front of mind. Now, if we contrast that to longer form content, those major touch points, as I was touching on just before, a major touch point could be a sales call. It could be a boardroom meeting. Those are those really large touch points within the sales cycle that bring you and your customer closer together. It gets them closer to buying your product or service, making the transaction happen. So likewise, with a long form piece of video, it's very much related to this. If you're posting a long form brand story film, or you're posting one of those ultra long form pieces, which is an educational video on YouTube that goes for 15 minutes. If you are tracking all the metrics around those videos as a business, as you should be, then you'll be able to identify who's watching what video and for what duration they're watching it. So you can pretty much guarantee that if you're providing a heap of value to a potential customer through an ultra long form video on YouTube as an example, and they're watching that video from minute 1 all the way through to minute 15, you can guarantee that they're getting a lot of value from your business, and that's going to bring them closer to you. That's going to bring you closer to them. And as a result, that connection is going to get stronger and stronger with every video that gets put out. Then you mix in the short form content, keeps them front of mind with your business. Then you add another long form piece, they consume that. Another major touch point, which brings them a little bit closer. I think you can kind of start to understand how it all plays together here. That is the importance of short form or long form content. That is why your business needs to have not just one, but both. Focus on both, because they work together hand in hand to achieve results for your business. Another really important reason for why both short and long form content should be looked at within your marketing campaigns is for the efficiency of creating content. As I touched on at the start of the show, a lot of marketing teams can get overwhelmed when it comes to creating content, especially with short form video content. So if you are able to navigate that production process in a way that is more efficient, more controlled, less overwhelming, then you can create content on an ongoing basis without burning your team out. And the way you can do this is by helping your long form content dictate your short form content. And this is what a lot of the biggest brands do. And I did a post on it this morning. Over the past 12 months, I've looked at a number of the big brands across the world that produce brand story films on a regular basis. The likes of Qantas, Dove, Nike, Reebok. List is quite significant. And what I found is that no matter the consistency that they produce them, for example, someone like Qantas may do one once a year. Someone like Nike might do it at every product launch. And then you've got someone like Dove who do it on a much more regular basis because they're wanting to continually push their message of body positivity. So no matter what their frequency of production of a brand story film is, they're using that as the North Star. That is the top piece of content that they produce. And then from there, all of their short form content comes out from that. Does that make sense? So you've got the longer form piece up top here, the brand story film or an educational piece or whatever it is, a webinar like this, for example. And then you're creating those shorter form content pieces from there. And that's what the biggest brands are doing. That is what they're doing on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis. And then, of course, on that the micro level, on a daily basis. And this is not just good for efficiency purposes in terms of keeping everything streamlined, making sure everything follows each other in terms of consistency of message, but it's also going to reduce the amount of creativity that a marketing team needs to take on, and as a result, reduce their amount of potential burnout that they could experience. So then how do you actually go about creating both short form content and long form content? For me, the way I like to do it is very much based on that long form to short form approach. So I'll do these webinars, these live events every couple of weeks or at least once a month. And then outside of this, I also do the podcast. So I have guests within the podcast. Sometimes I'll do a solo episode myself. Those are those longer form pieces, those ultra long form pieces as an example. And then from there, I'll clip up from each episode anywhere from 5, 10, 15, sometimes 20 clips, depending on the duration of that episode, and create short form pieces of content from there. So many of the things I've spoken about so far this morning, that will get clipped up and that'll be used as a post on LinkedIn. It'll be used as a post on YouTube, to a lesser degree, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. But that's my process. Takes the long form, produce the short form out of it. In a similar way for your business, that could be the best way to go about it. If you host podcasts on a regular basis, if you host webinars on a regular basis, especially in the B2B space, a lot of brands do host webinars on a regular basis. If you do keynote speeches, if you do educational videos, whatever it may be that is an ultra long form piece of video, then it's incredibly simple for your marketing team to have that longer form piece of content, no matter its duration, and then clip that up into smaller pieces. Again, whether it be 5, 10, 15, 20 clips, doesn't matter. The idea is about the process, taking that longer form piece and bringing out the shorter form pieces within that. That is one of the most efficient and easiest ways to go about creating both short and long form content. Because all you're really needing to worry about there in terms of the creativity aspect is, what is that major piece going to be about? What is the podcast episode going to be about? What is the webinar going to be about? What is the educational video going to be about? Once you've identified that, it is go through with the process of creating that. And then all you're doing then is just sucking out all the small pieces of content from that longer form piece of video. Similarly, another great way to do this is what many of the big brands do, as we touched on before, is create a brand story film and then create short form content underneath that. So if we look at a bit of the brand story film theory, the thinking behind them, each brand film has 5 pillars. And those are the 5 different types, if you want, of brand films. So you've got educational types of brand films, raising awareness brand films. Then you've got 2 lots of case studies, testimonials, if you want to call them that. So one is from your business's perspective, the social proof that you can provide there in a case study perspective. And then the other lot of social proof is from your customer's perspective, and that's more of that testimonial approach. And then finally, the 5th one is the promotional type of brand film. So if you have each of those 5 as your 5 different pillars of content as an example, you can think, okay, let's use a Nike as an example. Nike's created an educational video. They've created a brand film within social proof. They've done one for raising awareness, done one for promotion. So they've got the 5 different brand story films. Then we can look at that and say, okay, what are the short form pieces of content that are relevant to each of these 5 different films that we can then produce as short form pieces of content? And it's a little bit more creativity involved with this compared to the first approach, but you can get some really, really deep and meaningful pieces of content out of this. So if you're looking at that raising awareness aspect, that's all about providing awareness for what it is your business believes in, your core values and beliefs. What is it out of that video that as a business you can bring out of that and say, okay, this can be used within that type of short form content and within this type of short form content. Bring it through that way. Likewise for the other 4 types of brand story films. How can you bring that all together and create shorter form pieces of content? Those are probably the 2 best and most easy approaches for creating both short and long form content. And in both situations, you've seen that long form content is what starts us off and the short form content comes after that. It's much, much easier to do it from that approach as opposed from looking at it from a short form to long form perspective. If we focus on the short form, it's very, very difficult then to increase that out to a longer form piece of content and keep everything contextual. If you can start from the longer piece, you can bring that into a smaller piece much, much easier. The most important thing that I'd like for you to take away from this brief short episode this morning is just make it as easy as possible for yourself. Make it as easy as possible for your team. content production, whether it be short form, whether it be long form, whether it be ultra long form, if you're producing videos within your business without getting a third party like Fixon Media or some other one to do it for you, if you're doing it internally, if you can reduce how overwhelming that process could be, that is what's going to be the most important for you. Reduce how overwhelming it is going to be. Make it as easy as possible. And this is all done through building those systems first and then implementing all the practices within those. Because the systems are what will remove burnout from content production. And that is the most important thing I want you to take away from this morning's episode. So, as we touched on at the very start, a very short and sharp episode today. It's only been 20 minutes so far out of a scheduled 30, but we don't need much more than that. Very, very straightforward, very, very simple. And let's just go through a very brief summary of what we spoke about this morning. So we touched on the differences between short form, long form, and ultra long form content. So short form content being those pieces under 90 seconds, traditionally produced in a vertical format. Long form being anything from 90 seconds onwards to around about 10 minutes or so. And they're traditionally produced in a horizontal format. And then you've got those ultra long form videos, which are going to be 10 minutes plus in duration. They're typically going to be produced on YouTube, and it's going to be educational or it's going to be entertainment worthy. One of those two for those ones. From there, we touched on how the sales cycle is very closely linked to content. Sales cycle being short minor touch points and major touch points. Short form content being like those minor touch points, long form content being like the major touch points. Working them together is going to be only beneficial for your business as opposed to focusing on one or the other. And then we touched on the best ways to create both short, long form and ultra long form content. Start with the bigger pieces first and then create the shorter form pieces from there. So I hope you've been able to take away even just 1% of what we spoke about this morning. A very brief, very sharp episode, but one bringing forward a lot of thinking, no doubt. So the next event will be in 2 weeks' time, Tuesday, the 11th of February at 10 a.m. And this will go for, again, around about 30 minutes thereabouts. And next time's topic, fortnight's topic, will be how to go viral with LinkedIn video. And this is, again, a really interesting topic. We just spoke about the power of the LinkedIn video feed at the start of the episode today. LinkedIn video is only going to get bigger and more powerful as 2025 evolves. And I've been very grateful. I've had a bit of success with LinkedIn video in the latter half of 2024. Had a few videos go semi-viral. And as a result of that, I wanted to understand a little bit around how that actually took place. So I ran some tests. I produced a few different types of videos and put them onto LinkedIn and found out what were those key practices that I was doing that made the videos that went viral go viral. So we're going to touch on that within our discussion in a fortnight time. So with that said, thank you very much for your time this morning, for listening. I hope you're going to take away a little bit of learning from our topic of conversation today. And until the 11th of February, wishing you all the best and stay well. See you soon.